I got distracted. This is the sixth time doing this for the sixth episode. Oh my goodness. Look at this. This is perfect. Okay. So I have to do this perfectly now. Okay. So now we are on the month sixth episode. What I'm talking about, baby. Month and a half. Been working on this. Let everybody know to follow the Instagram, follow the podcast on Spotify, and just I want to let y'all know that I appreciate you guys so much. I hope that you guys know that I don't ever forget y'all. I think about the podcast all the time. I'm looking forward to everything that we can do, all the places we can go, all the things that we can create. Like I want to do like an animation shit, you know what I'm saying? Like anime, you know what I'm saying? But like like the horror genre. And I want to do some like other crazy things on YouTube. I just got a whole bunch of like ideas that I would love to pursue and just show y'all and create for y'all. But we gotta get there, baby. We gotta get there. Small steps first. We gotta climb up. Um, you already know I got the setup. I'm in my room. Got the dogs. We in here. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me go. I'm gonna make sure this little light turned off. We're gonna make sure we in the dark. We're gonna make sure we in the dark. It's dark today. I hit the mic. My bad, folks. All right. You already know. Okay. It's a little creepy in here now. So we got this amazing r/snowsoup story. Uh, what's it called? Shout out to Twitch Tranham. He's volunteered to help me out. And I just wanna just let you know, man, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Um, just helping me find the stories. And then just the whole process of it. So I just appreciate you, man. The work that you do and the writing, just everything. Uh, this our Sapstone Street story is written by Cats Are My Life 99, and I'm assuming it's a she because of the little icon person. But it says Cats Are My Life. I really enjoy writing in the horror genre, horror gang. uh, and cats. I love cats. My cat is my baby angel. Um, and there's a second part to it, so hopefully, maybe if they like it enough, I can read the second one too. Thank you. Um, no, obviously I have to go ask for it, but yeah. So I appreciate you. Let me read this story. Uh, my wife hasn't been the same since our second child. And hold on, I want to double check just to make sure. Okay, so I did tell them at first that I didn't like. I read like the beginning, like I scanned through it, and it's like to have like a reaction a little bit. But I did go a little bit through it, so I would have a better idea of the dialogue. Just because I wanted to try it out this time, and uh, yeah. So I just hope that it works out better this time around. We still learning, we still growing, we still getting better. You know what I'm saying? We getting better day by day, episode by episode. We out here trying. We out here working hard. You know what I'm saying? Trying to break out. Trying to get out, man. All right, so we in the dark room. Got the story ready. Let's get it. My wife hasn't been the same since our second child. My wife is fun loving, adventurous, and very family oriented. Or at least she was before this all began. Very early in our relationship, she made it clear how important having a family was to her. This scared me a little bit, but I wasn't opposed to kids. And we had such a great time together. We hiked, camped, biked, and simply enjoyed being outdoors. Sometimes she would daydream out loud about what it would be like to do all those things with a child of our own and to share all their new experiences with them. We ended up moving in together about a year after we started dating, and I was working two part time jobs while she was working a full time. Night shift job was night shift job as well as attending college in the morning. Dang. Full time job, night shift job as well. Dang, she's working full time, night, and going to college, bro. When you sleep, that's crazy. That's a good grind though. Gotta respect the grind. Gotta respect the hustle. We had no time, and we were barely making ends meet for a while there. COVID was her senior year of college, and I was one of the lucky few who got the opportunity to advance in my career due to the pandemic. We got married and saved all of our extra money, all of our extra cash, and were fortunate enough to buy a house while the market was still way too hot. It was definitely a fixer upper, and it's still presently a work in progress, but it was our own place to do with as we pleased. Three bedrooms and one bathroom. We imagined what life would might look like with the rooms filled. I don't know why I'm having such a neurological breakdown while reading this right now. Well, then we had our first son. Postpartum was a hard season, as neither of us slept much with a newborn, and my wife struggled with postpartum depression. But after the first month and a half, we had longer bouts of sleep and some actual time for our little family. We live in a state where both parents get 3 months off paid for bonding with our new child. So my wife set up a handful of trips, and as a family of three, we hiked and camped and went to the beach. How do you hike and camp with a newborn? Is that safe? I mean, I don't know. That's I don't know. You can do a lot with a newborn, but like I don't know. As long as it's warm, I guess. As long as it's warm. It was great. I mean, as long as you have everything you need. I guess I don't know. I guess I never thought about a newborn out here hiking, roasting marshmallows. It can't even eat marshmallows. It can't even. Can it eat marshmallows? Do you think a newborn baby? Let me. I'm gonna look that up. Can a newborn baby eat a toast? Okay, so no. It says never give a child under the age of 5 whole or chopped up nuts, including peanuts, marshmallows, or popcorn. That's mm, yeah, it's still not for sure. That's crazy. That's crazy. The 5 thing, like 4, I feel like they should know how to chew by 4 at least. I don't know. I don't know nothing about kids. Like I don't know. I can't remember. Like I don't hang out with kids, bro. So I don't know. I don't know a lot about kids, but that's crazy. I didn't know that. That's interesting. You learn something every day. That's so yeah. So the baby can't even enjoy hiking. I can't even enjoy camping. The fucking marshmallows. That's crazy. Y'all just taunting them with marshmallows. No, I'm just kidding. Um. Okay. So it was great and felt akin to the beginning of our relationship. Yeah, we hiked and camped and went to the beach. It was great and felt akin to the beginning of our relationship. Those months went by fast. Soon we were back to the slog of full time jobs and now navigating daycare drop offs and pickups. Where we would normally sleep in on the weekends, we now were up early with our baby. Sometimes it's led to tension, but mostly we handled it well. And the love we share for our son outweighed any of the inconveniences to our day to day lives. It's an adjustment period for sure, though you continually practice putting the needs of another being above your own. But it's so rewarding. I feel like it sounds sarcastic, but it's so rewarding. That also felt sarcastic, but I wasn't trying. But it's so rewarding. That felt better. Okay. Our baby boy turned 1, and my wife wanted to begin trying for another baby. I had no complaints with that request. That experience was much different than the first. This time it took many months and a doctor appointments to and blood withdrawal. Dang, hold on. This time it took many months and doctor appointments and blood withdrawals and pills. We grew apart as my wife would go from hopeful 1 week to deeply distraught the next. She'd spend a day curled up in bed instead of out in the yard, playing with her baby she already had. I felt she had I felt she was being ungrateful. But I'm not a woman and it's not my body, so the understanding was lacking. This caused a rift between us some days. Hold on, so what is she? Got you. Gotcha, okay, okay. Like I read it, but I didn't comprehend it, if that makes sense. I just had to reread it real quick. Months passed and it was Christmas Day. Like many wives, mine does the heavy lifting when it comes to the holidays. There were several packages neatly wrapped under the tree, and stockings on the mantel were filled to the brim. I didn't know what was in the majority of it. She recorded our son opening his gifts for his second Christmas. It was great watching his little face light up with each new toy or candy or article of clothing. Though wrap, though the wrapping paper was his actual favorite. My wife then pointed the camera at me and told me to open my stocking. I pulled out a few thoughtful gifts, too much candy, and what I thought was some sort of marker, but it wasn't. It was a pregnancy test with two pink lines in the test window. I started to cry and we embraced. She sent the video clip to her friends and family as well at the Christmas morning announcement. Oh, as the Christmas morning announcement, we were really happy. The ultrasounds were my wife's favorite appointments with our first son, and she made a little paperclip chain on the calendar to count down the days until we got to see this new little life for the first time. The guys at my work gave me some grief about needing an extra long lunch that day to be able to make the appointment. It was important to my wife, and since I can't feel what she feels, it's a connective point to have a visual of what's going on inside of her. It was the same doctor she had been with our first son in the same ultrasound room. I don't know why I like froze for a second. It was brain fart, brain toot, brother. The same gel on her lower abdomen and reclining back on the same chair. She was more relaxed this time, expectant of what we were about to see. But it wasn't the same. The gestational sac was there, but a small lump lay still, not bouncing and kicking like our first. My wife's smile faded, and I took the rest of the day off to head home and be with her. Her mom watched our son. The miscarriage wasn't natural. The baby, our second son, had to be surgically removed. My wife was incredibly distraught and had grasped onto the little shred of hope that there may be signs of life, requesting an ultrasound prior to the procedure. He remained right where he'd been. The doctor talked to me while she was still asleep. Decay on the tiny body had already begun to take place, which could have been very dangerous for my wife. This solidified for me that this was the right choice, but my wife recoiled at that detail when I told it to her later. She had a few days of pretty intense pain, but made a full physical recovery. Mentally was a different story though. There were several nights where after we put our son to bed that my wife would lock herself in the bathroom and sob loud, breathy sobs where she couldn't have answered me verbally if she wanted to. I would ask her to let me in to be with her, to hold her, but she had none of it. She wanted to be alone. So I left her alone. I thought that might help, but when her bathroom sessions ended, she'd come at me vehemently. Vehemently. You already know, folks. We gonna take it to Safari. And what did I do again? Type motherfucking Safari and Safari. It's because I was singing it. The definition of this word is in a forceful, passionate, or intense manner with great feeling. So she's pretty heated or very passionate about what she's saying. What are you doing? Did you even care? What's the matter with you? I tried to explain how I was also processing this loss, but at the same time trying to care for her and our son. I think she actually hated me. She no longer came to bed with me, but opted for the couch. I tried to show my care by covering her up with her favorite fuzzy blanket and placing her water bottle on the side table to encourage her to drink something. She'd at least oblige me and take a sip. Oblige me. Oblige? Is it oblige or oblige? Oblige. I'll take a sip of water myself. Oh yeah, my bad. Oh shit, my bad. I haven't eaten yet, so I was gonna record and then eat, but I got so hungry that my stomach was like, "Yo, you running on fumes right now." So I had to go go grab me like a little snack. All right, but anyways, aside from the week off after her procedure, she still went to work, dropped off, and picked up our son and made dinner. She was still keeping up day-to-day routines and childcare, but when our son went to bed, she turned back into the disheveled, sad lump on the couch. We live above a graveyard and sometimes take our son to the little pond there to feed the ducks and geese. But that day, my wife took our son to the burial plot where our second child was being put to rest. I do regret that I didn't get the day off, but I didn't know how to process it all. And if I'm being honest, it felt a bit more grandiose. All right, bro. Also, comment below on this episode if you guys would be interested in keeping track. Like I'll keep track of it. Like I'll re-listen to it, but also like having like a little thing where we have like all the words that I look up since day one, and we just go over it on like the 100th episode and just like figure out, like, we'll see all the words that we learned, over the 100 episodes. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It was just an idea. Tell me what y'all think. Let me know. Um, we're gonna look up this word real quick. So it is grandiose. Mm, impressive and imposing in appearance or style, especially pretentiously. Now we gotta look up the word pretentiously. Pretentious. Attempting to impress by affecting greater importance, talent, or culture than is actually possessed. Okay. So we're going back to grandiose. And impressive and imposing appearance. So dang. Not gonna lie, that's crazy. Mm. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Now that I'm reading, okay, yeah. So I felt more grandiose than it needed to be. Miscarriages aren't uncommon, sadly, but it turned out none of the family could make it. Maybe they were. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Maybe they were actually too busy, or maybe they shared my sentiments. Who knows? Regardless, my wife was there with our son, some strangers, and a pastor who gave a nice speech about the tiny little box, the tiny little body, and the tiny little box. I got a picture of flowers on the graveside, and my wife didn't say much else to me. I tried to apologize, but she wouldn't have it, and I can't say I blame her. I wouldn't have guessed that no one else would make it, but that's just shifting the blame. That night, I had stayed up late, and I had gone to check on her before I got into bed. She lay in what looked like a terribly uncomfortable. She lay or she laid. She lay in what looked like a terribly uncomfortable position, but the soft snoring confirmed she was asleep. I covered her with her blanket and turned off the lamp. I made my way out of the living room and to the bathroom to get myself ready for bed. When I opened the bathroom door, I jumped back out. I jumped back with a shout. She was just standing there in the hall, staring at the wall. What are you doing? I thought you were asleep. You scared me. Nothing. She didn't acknowledge me at all. I'm prone to the occasional sleepwalking episode, and given all the physical and emotional stress she was under, I figured it was completely plausible that she was having an episode herself. Come on, hun, let's get back to bed. She turned her head immediately and met my eyes. No. I'm uh, I'm sorry. I thought you were sleepwalking. We stood there for too much time. Her eyes locked on mine with such an intensity, anger, resentment, disdain, all the above. Finally, I just exasperatedly told her, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry this happened. I'm sorry I missed the burial. I'm sorry you're going through this. What do you want me to do? I really don't know how to help you or how to help you here. But she just stared. Sorry, I had to swallow my saliva. But she just stared unblinking until she finally turned around and went to curl back up on the couch. Needless to say, I didn't sleep much, and I couldn't feel the space between us growing wider, and I could feel the space between us growing wider. The next day, she got up like normal and was fully in her work mom mode. She didn't really acknowledge me, but that wasn't unusual since all of this had started. I just I was just glad that she was talking and tending to our son. It was nice to hear her voice in a semi-normal manner. We went to work and came home. She had dinner on the table. I cleaned up and we put our son to bed together. She was still awake when I came to see her before bed, but she kept her face buried in her phone. I said goodnight and continued on my way. I also fell into the phone trap before going to sleep. My back was turned to the door as I scrolled mindlessly through reels. Eventually, I turned the phone off and rolled to switch off the lamp and startled again. She was right there, standing at my bedside, not saying a word. Honey, don't scare me like that. Are you coming to bed tonight? Here, let me fix the pillows. She continued in her silence and didn't move towards the bed. Are you coming to bed? I repeated to no avail. This time her eyes weren't right on mine, but she seemed to be looking past me. I glanced over my shoulder but saw nothing. Hun, we really need to get to bed. It's a work night. But she wouldn't leave, and I couldn't sleep with her looming over me like that. I seriously didn't know what to do, but what I decided on probably wasn't the right choice. I sat up with no movement from her still, and I wrapped my arms around her waist, picking her up in one quick motion. She began kicking violently and punched at my back. That actually hurt, I exclaimed, dropping her. Don't touch me, she hissed. I need to go to bed. You need to go to bed. You've got to go somewhere. Her voice went back to deadpan, and she continued to just stand there. I'm serious. My voice raised as I was reaching my wit's end. Tomorrow isn't promised, she said flatly, and finally turned to head back to the couch. Oh, hell no. My elevated emotions kept me awake for some time after she left. I'm getting out the house. Fuck you mean? Elevated emotions? Nah, bro, I'm leaving. She said, bro, she hit him with the tomorrow isn't promised. Bro, what the fuck? About to kill your ass, cuz. Shit. To dismay, this became a trend. I'd get ready for bed, and at some point between the bathroom visit and turning off the lamp, she'd appear, wordless and staring off into space, sometimes at me, sometimes at a wall or an object. I started to just ignore her, and eventually could manage sleep despite her presence. I mentioned therapy. I mentioned therapy, but she was uninterested. She blamed the price, and I told her that we would manage and it was important for all of us. She still refused. I tried to let it go since it wasn't affecting our son, but even under the circumstances, this was obviously not normal. She had become very depressed after the birth of our first son, and I knew she had gone through the same that hormone dump, but without the baby this time. So I just tried to rationalize it as best as I could. The internet said it would take a few weeks for her hormone levels to get back to normal, but we were well past a few weeks. I felt helpless for me, for her, for the whole situation. I chose to call her mom and didn't go into details, but just let her know that her daughter was not doing very well mentally. Apparently, she hadn't shown any alarming behavior to the rest of the family, just normal motions of grief that one might expect. Mom came and took her on a little outing, and my wife seemed to be in a better mood when she got back. She'd gotten a gift for our son, and they played together until it was time for bed. She didn't say much to me, but for the first time in weeks, she got into our bed. There was such a huge sense of relief. I'd done the right thing. Things were going to get better from here. I had vivid nightmares that night, and I woke up to a cold sweat. To my horror, that as adrenaline was already high, I saw that my wife was rolled towards me with her large eyes and a blank expression. Thinking maybe I scared her. I told her I'd had a nightmare, but she continued to stare and say nothing. Great, whatever. I rolled back over. It was better, anyways, to have her staring at me from in the bed rather than standing over it. Probably due to already having a nightmare, I couldn't shake the feeling of her watching me. I tossed and turned and kind of hoped she'd leave the bed, but she didn't. So much for the better. So much for better. The next morning, I got up for work and she was still asleep. This was not super unusual, so I went on my way groggily. By the time I was actually ready to leave for work, our son was up and running around, but my wife still hadn't left the bed. I went in to gently nudge her. Hey, I have to leave for work. Baby's awake, so I need you to get up. I can't even emphasize how angry her eyes were as she began waking up. Irritated by the daggers she shot my way after all, She was the one who had kept us both up the night before. I went back to the living room and got our son a cup of milk and put on a TV show for him. I waited for my wife to emerge, but she didn't. The clock was ticking. I went back to the bedroom and she was in the bed staring. She didn't look at me, but just blankly stared at the wall. This behavior hadn't translated to the morning before this, and I had no time to wait for her to come out of it. From all of our night experiences, I knew there was no time frame for this, and we both needed to leave for work. I snapped my fingers in front of her expressionless eyes. We need to get to work. We don't have time for whatever this is. She didn't budge. I walked forward and put my hand on her shoulder, but before I could take back that action, she bit me. She drew blood. Ah! What are you doing? I cried. And that point, and at that point, I heard the quick little footsteps of our son running to see what was happening. Shit, shit, shit. Clutching the bite, I turned out and closed the door behind me before I chopped and witnessed his mom. Witnessed his mom. Excuse me. The feral animal. What happened, Dad? He asked innocently. Where's Mama? Mom's sleeping, but I told her she was to get up because Dad has to go to work. Oh, okay. And he walked back out to the living room. The absolute trust he had in us both both was both astounding and terrifying. I went to the bathroom to wash my hand, blood running down the white porcelain. You could clearly see where her teeth had each individually pierced the skin. I grabbed a large bandage and covered it up the best I could. Sorry, I'm having a moment. Having a tism thing. I don't know what's going on, dude. I'm sorry. Okay. Um, I'm just like Theo Von, bro. I just be rocking. Ugh, you know what I mean? Oh, this is good so far. I'm loving it. Good. It's lengthy. Love it. Uh, and then she came out of the room in her work clothes, back to normal, like none of this even happened. No, we need to talk about this. What the hell was that? This is not something we're just shoving under the rug. She didn't even acknowledge me. She brushed past me and began brushing her teeth and putting her hair up. You can't do that to me. You can't be like this around our son. This is not okay. Don't touch me, stated very coldly, but at least I got words out of her. I'm sorry for grabbing your shoulder, but I need you to tell me what this behavior that I need you to tell me that this behavior will stop. I don't know what to do. Back to no response, she walked out of the bathroom and greeted our son, and I arrived to work late. I was so worried about what the night would hold that I chose to stay at work longer than normal. She never got into that crazy state before putting our son to bed, but a side of me recognized how unpredictable this behavior was becoming. I decided to head home in a half hour before bedtime. Dinner would be done. I could step right into the cleanup, and we could all do story time after that like a normal family. Much like the ultrasound of our second son, what I expected was not what I saw. Hello? Are you two in here? Baby? Please, answer me. No noise. An empty house. Nothing was out of place or ruffled through, and my wife's car was still parked in the driveway. I dialed my wife's number and I could hear her phone vibrating in the other room. I ran over there, but it just laid on the bed. It just lay on the bed. No way to call her or track our location. I began my search on foot. Maybe it was an accident after dinner walk, except it was dark now and our road had no streetlights. In fact, the whole expanse of graveyard behind our house, the whole thing is very dark and encased in the trees and shrubbery growing along its border. Walking turned into jogging as each minute passed. without me finding them. I went up and down the main road, side roads, around the whole perimeter of the graveyard. There was no sign of them. The entrance to the graveyard was locked. I rattled the iron gate to see if it would budge, and no Avil. The fence was lower on the east side, but I couldn't imagine how she might possibly get our son over the fence along with herself. But where else could she be? Now looking down the street for witnesses and seeing none, looking down the street for witnesses and seeing none, I was able to climb over it without much issue. I began running through the graves. The grounds had rolling grassy hills, lots of plant life, large trees littered throughout, etc. Central Pond. It was very picture-seek in the day, but the darkness made it feel vaster at night. Shadows cast by plants moved with the breeze and would act as camouflage for a shadow from the living. I went section by section. Angry honks and flapping wings made me feel fall backwards as I made it to the pond. The dumb geese had now made my presence known to anyone and everyone, whether that be good or bad. Running through the birds, I kept moving. I wished now more than ever that I had attended the burial. Up a hill and rounding a corner, I saw a very large tree, easily wide enough to hide behind. I could see small objects dangling from it, but couldn't make out exactly what they were. I slowed my pace and tried to be as quiet as possible as I approached. There were little toys, strings grown into the branches, obviously put there long ago. The section of the child and infant's graves. Getting as close to the tree as possible, I peered around it at the far end of the section, and I could make it out a figure. Sorry. Such a good story, bro. I'm a derping. Getting close to the tree as possible, I peered around it, and at the far end of the section, I could make out a figure with a smaller one beside it, but they were both very still. Toddlers, but still not creatures. The hair raised on the back of my neck. Should I sprint to them? Should I sneak my way over before I could choose my next move? My wife, my wife's head turned and she stared right at me from across the whole entire section. I shuddered, but decided to sprint for them. She didn't run. She stayed in her spot. Our son with her. She was holding her hand. Why wasn't he looking towards me? Why wasn't he acknowledging? He hurried steps. He acknowledging the hurried steps coming right toward him. Sorry, I was having a be rocking with the Disney. Alright, let me stop. I was just watching a Theo Von clip saying that. It was funny. Um, her steps coming toward him. What had she had done to him? I snatched him and lunged back out of her arm's length, prepared to run again, but she still didn't move. She glared, unblinking, her unnerving stare only partially covered by her disheveled hair. Squatting down, breathless, I finally noticed that our son was staring blankly at a tiny headstone engraved with our last name and only one date. I wrapped my arms around him, but his eyes stayed transfixed to that spot, and he still said nothing. "What did you do to him?" I demanded. The ghostly remnant of my wife only stared back. Sorry, I messed it up. Answer me. What did you do? Nothing. We have to go home. We're going home. At this point, I couldn't care less if she wanted to rot on the ground along with the child that we lost. I turned and started to leave with our son, but he turned to keep the grave in view. I shuddered and chose to cover his eyes with one hand, while scooping him up in the second, say bye bye to the baby. I told him softly. My wife lurched forward, but I had just enough time to break into a sprint myself. I'm generally faster than her, but carrying 40 pounds in one arm did not help. What do you want? I yelled back, and only audible breaths came from her as she continued her pursuit. Stop! You're scaring him. You're scaring me. I started to run down the hill back towards the pond when something caught my foot. I dropped my son, arms naturally coming out to try and stabilize myself, but I still ended up tumbling down the hill. By the time I reoriented, she had him again. No! Stop! What are you trying to do? I stumbled back up the hill, and this time I used my full weight to knock her into the ground, inadvertently pulling our son down with her. But leaving her pinned under me. She screamed and squirmed and tried to bite, legs kicking any way they could, nails digging into whatever part of me she could reach. Our son finally seemed to come out of his trance and began crying and unsightly events before him. Look what you're doing! I yelled at her, but she just continued to writhe. Dad, stop it! Dad, you're hurting Mama! The little voice screamed, and he started hitting back and kicking me as well. Look what you're doing, I repeated, voice breaking. Look what you're letting this do to us. You can't break dead back to life. You can't bring the dead back to life. You're destroying your relationships with the living. She finally went still though our child discontinued to fight for his mama. She finally went still though our child continued to fight for his mama. With all of his might, I slowly rolled off her and hugged our son tightly. I'm sorry, I whispered. We all got up slowly, but my wife went right back in the direction of the tiny gravestone. Head hung low, I took my son by the hand and we headed home. There is a part two. Um, what's it called? So great story, great length of a story. I'm super curious to see on what's going on. Is it possession? Is it the house? Could it be something with the kid? Could something be taking over her because of in the state she's in, mental state she's in, or is it just like uh a view, a POV, or I don't know. There's a lot of ways I feel like you can look at it, and I really enjoy that. That's really cool. I think it was very well written. Um, I think it was uh very illustrated. Um, and it was like a movie in my head, man. I could see it, and I just appreciate you um for letting me read that story. Catch on My Life 99, and I hope I can read the second one. Who knows? Maybe that's what episode 7 will be. Nah, I don't know. I kind of just I know I got some part twos. I think, if I remember correctly, that I do gotta keep up on. But we will get to those uh soon. We'll get to those. I gotta double back on them. But I appreciate y'all. I greatly appreciate all of the love and support. And thank you again, Cats on My Life. Everybody go hit up Cats on My Life. Go hit up that page, man. Read all their work. There is a part two, like I said. So Cats on My Life. If I can read that part two, if you're hearing this, if you listen to this, you made it to the end, let me know. If not, I'll just if you don't listen to this, I'll just hit you up and I'll ask you for permission. So but yeah, so I'm probably gonna take a little power nap now. Peace, y'all. Much love to y'all. Stay smooth. I can't thank y'all enough for how much y'all have helped me and just give me a lot of love and support. Um, thank you. for everything. Let's keep climbing. We climbing to the top, baby. Climbing to the top. We climbing to the top. Yeah, yeah. Episode 6. Episode 6. Also, don't forget, hit up Twitch Trahams, buy me a coffee account. All of his stories that he's ever written is on there for free. Donating is an option to it's for his daughter. It's a savings account for his daughter. So just show love to Twitch, Trahams, show love to Cats on My Life 99. And thank y'all so much for all the support, all the help, everything. We a big colony here, man. We got 15 people so far, so it's a start. I appreciate y'all. Peace.